reveal your unconsciousness. Um, and what can they tell you about you and the kind of things you are not aware of? Uh, so, first, I would like to start that most of this information will be taken from the book The Secret Life of Pronouns, What Our Words Say About Us by James Pennebaker. Um, so the name for this video will be similar, right? And um, the so James makes a good observation. He says that we can actually control our language consciously, but mostly we control um, the words that pass on the meaning, the object words. We control the nouns, the verbs. But how about these small connecting words? He asked the question. So he claims that these function words, tiny words that connect sentences together, can tell us uh, a lot of things about ourselves which we don't rationalize. And I will link also this topic to the possibility of people to again um, uh, be ignorant or self-deceptive. So let's start. Now, what are those functional or function words, right? So those tiny words. So James includes in them the pronouns, the articles, the prepositions, and conjunctions, negations like not, never, no, and quantifiers. So all these small verbs, like if it's pronounced, it's like I, you, he, she, etc. Articles, an, right? Um, some, any, even, to, these kinds of words. And these words, they build the structure of our sentences, so they are very important. And this is why the way we frame things, the way we frame the sentences, are important and unique to each person as well. And um, that's what James claims as well in his book. He says that small, frequent words carry little uh, but explicit meaning. Because he says that they are used automatically and processed by the unconscious grammar system of the brain. So we know the, uh, let's say, grammatical rules, right? But we still have the source of flexibility and creativity there. We can use it at our convenience. And so, why do we use it the way we do use it? Um, we can't tell because we don't track it. We don't necessarily our way of why did we use the because or so in this manner. We don't rationalize these parts. We do rationalize the kinds of words we choose for verbs and nouns, but we it's kind of too complex for us to see the bigger picture of why do we use the small connecting words in exactly the same the in exactly in the manner of which we use them, right? So okay, uh, so to start, he claims that the small, almost invisible words, they reveal our personality and also our mental state. They reflect our social and psychological perception. Um, and for example, starting with the pronouns, right? I, me, my. he usage of self focus pronouns just openly shows the self reference and uh, the preoccupation with the self, right? Um, which is kind of opposite, but interestingly, it can be both healthy and kind of not healthy, because it's not like there is just um, a blueprint for each case, you know. Um, the person can be preoccupied with himself for healthy reasons, right? But and he can also be preoccupied with himself for let's say socially judged reasons, like if he's an narcissistic, overly ambitious and selfish. um right. So in his book, James says, when people are depressed or self-focused or uncertain, they use I words more. However, usually leaders, like powerful or emotionally stable people, they use fewer self-focused pronouns. They use more um, plural pronouns. So they kind of focus on a bigger social picture rather than on themselves. And the self-focused pronouns can show the um, cognitive load on the self. So if your attention turns inward, um, it can mean that you uh, over rationalizing um, uh, or yourself. So mm, it also shows your priorities, right? Uh, it could possibly signal the anxiety or guilt, because those are would be the explanations for over rationalization and preoccupation with the self. Um, but uh, James also says that there are the positive and negative side to using plural pronouns as well. Right, leaders do usually use plural pronouns, but the um, disbalance in usage of the plural pronouns, like we, can also signal the attempt to build a moral diffusion, to spread the responsibility. Because if you use the plural pronouns like we, it's not only that you are focused on the group rather than on yourself, right? Uh, but it's also that you basically identify yourself more not as individual but as the group. So you now is not you, uh just you, but the group is you now. So um and this could be helpful for you uh thinking about the bigger picture and building something together with people, pursuing the shared goal. Uh, so for that, of course, this would be helpful, right? You can achieve more with that. You can be more helpful, but you can easily see how it Right. So this was about the group identity. And he also says that people still can hide guilt or fear in a plural forms. We made a mistake. So when it's too much for the individual, when the individual wants to escape the responsibility, he can attempt to diffuse it by spreading it into the group. Uh, so if I isolates the agency, it shows personal ownership, which could be useful for the agent again to achieve his goals. Right? It's not bad for you to strive and achieve something, but it is unhealthy if you achieve it by all means and if you only consider your achievements, because they are other players who also want their interest to be considered. Um, but we distributes agency. It emerges uh, the speaker with the group, right? Uh, it's literally reduces the distance between uh, the individual and the group. So when people want to feel connection, inclusion, or shared purpose, they would use more of plural pronouns. The negative side of it would be the diffusion. The person kind of dilutes individual accountability or anxiety by blending into the collective identity. So, mm, group pronouns like we, our, us function as the moral and emotional safety nets. This is what important to understand. They are comforting if you are belonging and connecting well, and uh, if you are situated well within the group, right? Um, they signal inclusion, belonging. But this belonging and inclusion can provide the cover for the speaker to avoid uh, the his individual responsibility and accountability, and the guilt that comes from it. That's how the usage of collective language could be a cover up to individual sins. And as you can understand, they are uh, kind of several opposite extremes, right? Very low we use shows social withdrawal or alienation. Too much of I shows isolation, rumination. Uh, Too much of we shows conformity or moral diffusion, potentially. So, where is the hard or impossible to understand without the context? Because language serves the purpose. Uh, and the context and the purpose explains whether the whether the purpose for using this language is reasonable and justified, right? So uh, whether you use the we to identify uh, with with a group to achieve the shared goal, and or whether you use it to cover up the individual responsibility, right? uh, these should be already recognized within the context. But to have this information of the danger and or possible interpretations of your uh, for you, the use of the pronouns could be helpful for you to be self-aware. Uh, and could be helpful for you to understand yourself and your language more, as well as to understand other people better through their use of the language as well. But yeah, it's not only pronouns that we will be breaking down. Let's discuss the emotion words. So Pin Baker, I hope I pronounce his name surname right, differentiated between emotion words and cognitive mechanisms words. Emotion words are like happy, angry, sad, upset, afraid, lonely, depressed, and cognitive mechanism words are the words that show the chain of reasoning and logic. It's like because uh, the reason for it, they show the that the agent is being reflective of his experience. Think, understand, those kind of words. And emotion words, they directly label a feeling or a psychological state, right? Happy, angry, etc., upset. They are effective descriptors. They indicate the presence and the type also of emotion. Um, but the problem is that they say nothing about the cause, about the reasoning and or resolution. Um, so James writes that people whose physical health improves the most use a moderate number of negative emotion words, which is quite interesting. And he explains the reason for that. He says that um, emotional distress reduces cognitive integration. As people process events, they move from pure emotions to mixed emotional cognitive language. So he says that the better the person deals with the traumatic experience or with the stress, the more he uses reflective language, the cognitive language. Um, and the cognitive mechanism words, they are function words or short content words that signal the mental processing. Um, they don't directly describe emotion. They describe how the person is thinking about it. They mark reflection or explanation. So, and why it's important? It's important because cognitive words basically reflect self understanding. And the absence of cognitive words reflects repression or avoidance of this understanding. So when you look at the written text, you can see clearly if people uses less of the cognitive words, cognitive how is it? Uh, yeah, cognitive mechanism words. So if the person uses less connectors that literally show, or the words that also directly show his thinking process, his uh, chain connecting process, then, well, it means that he has less of it. And this what James writes in his book. He says after trauma, people who begin using more cognitive words uh, for insights, causation, they show better health outcomes. Their language shows that they are making sense of what happened. And he found that as people process emotional event, the frequency of these words increases, showing that they are moving from um, just raw reaction to recognition, uh, to organized reasoning. And people who begin using more insights and causal words, uh, they reason more, and their mental and physical health uh, is proved to be improving. And also, interestingly so, he mentions something about liars. He says that when people lie, they are cognitively overloaded because lying and lie and deception are costly to us. We have to kind of do the double thinking process. We have to diverge from our true experiences, even if it's a self deception. Um, because, well, it's still unnatural not to be true to yourself, right? It's cognitively costly, um, especially for deception. You have to make up the new convincing narrative. And so, for this reason, James says that liars use, for deceiving people, they use simpler sentences. Even if they try to use big, sophisticated words or abstract words, their sentences sound flat and they use fewer cognitive mechanism words, fewer causal words like because, uh, fewer reflective words, right? And because they, well, because it's hard to think deeply and reason well for the lie, right? Uh, and so that's how uh, this leaks through the language, and you can track whether the person is being uh, honest or deceptive. Uh, so deceptive text would have the consistent markers of fewer first person pronouns, for example, more negations, more motion verbs, fewer exclusive words. And the reason for that would be because liars distance themselves from the lie. because they can't run the false narrative, reduce moral responsibility. Uh, that's why they could actually use less of the self-focused pronouns, and also high negations to distance. They could use low exclusives to simplify, or to avoid the contradictions. They could use high motion verbs to uh, do the narrative displacement, right? And all of this can be tracked through the written text or a speech, right? All of that can be recognized. Okay, now let's talk about the temporal markers and psychological time. So, um, James had noticed in his books one good observation. He says that use of verb tenses correlates with mental time focus. Again, our language shows where our attention is. It leaks the information about us and our unconsciousness. Even if we don't mean to pass it on, we still show it. And so, if we talk a lot about the present, well, then our focus lies in the present. If we talk a lot about the past, then it lies in the past. If about the future, then it lies in the future. Now, where are the drawbacks? Um, the drawbacks are if you talk a lot about the if you use lots of future tenses, um, and simultaneously you kind of signal anxiety and worry. Well, because that would mean that uh, you uh, perhaps for yourself are unhealthy, preoccupied with the worry for the future, which again could be, or the control attempts, right? Maybe you try to control the future outcome, you struggle to predict the future outcome. And well, it's hard to tell necessarily where it's bad and good for you, because well, maybe you have all the reasons to be worrying, uh, because you know you got to do something. uh, you maybe you realize that it's not turns well for you, and now you worry and anxious. So maybe the anxiety and worry are good signals for you to listen to, right? So it's hard to tell when it's healthy or not healthy for you. When it's unhealthy, uh, it still could be healthy, you know. I mean, if it brings you pain and discomfort, it doesn't mean that it's not helpful for you, um, because it could serve a positive purpose. So it's hard to just say what is better or what is worse. But it's true that um, temporal focus reflects where cognitive energy is stuck. And overuse of past tense verbs could indicate the also rumination that you are stuck in the past. This is good for you to realize, because if you track your written text, or if you track how you speak, and you find yourself using lots of past tense verbs, then you can realize that why my focus why does my focus lies in the past, right? um and same for the future and present, because even for the present, if your focus lies for the present, maybe you could think that, well, it's just a good thing for you because, well, you live in the present, so you should worry about the present. But it's not necessarily true, because in his book, James says even more. He says liars so often speak in the present tense to make their story sound immediate or real, and then you are even more confused, like, why? I thought healthy people or mindful people think more about the present. Why and how could it be unhealthy? And so, well, his explanation sounds like that. uh if you speak in the present terms tense, what it means is that the event feels immediate. It it feels like it's still happening, which not necessarily good or bad. So here's the psychology behind it. These signals, or potentially signals, that some of your emotions or motivations are tied to what is happening now. Perhaps, and those could be positive emotions. Maybe you're enjoying a lot what you're having now, but those also could be negative emotions. Like maybe you're um, really worrying and anxious about what's happening now. Maybe you're angry at what's happening now. Um, and the balance would be, I don't know, it's hard to answer. It also would depend in the context, because who, but not you, would be able to tell which is the reason that which is the exact reason that you're preoccupied with the present. Um, and um, Is it due to your mindful awareness, or is it because you're being reactive, or you're trying to perform authenticity? So, well, obviously, logically, that's how it could be bad for you. If you are actually being sincerely and genuinely um, interested and focused at what's happens now, and you're just self-aware, and cognitively reflective, then, well, this is not bad for you to be in the present, right? But if you're emotionally reactive, it's not that it's bad for you, but it means that, well, something troubles and worries you in the present, right? And that's why you living in the presence, not because you're living a mindful and aware life. It's because something triggers you in the present moment and you are reactive, or you're trying to perform mindfulness when you're actually not. You're not calm in it and reflective. You're performing authenticity, like you try to remind yourself to be it, which is not necessarily bad, again, depending on the situation. But okay, let's move to the future tense to talk about it more. So you speaking or writing in a future tense would just again show that you're focused on what will happen or should happen next, which is good. We are directed towards future. It could mean that you are planning. Uh, it could signal your optimism, or it could also signal that you're trying to escape from the present. If um, it's would be balanced, like positive use would be something like revealing your hope and just future direction. But the inflated use of future tense could reveal the attempt to control the future, and it could reveal the anxiety and avoidance. So, and I think the balance here is also very important, because even if the person talks to you and you like uh don't know the context, but you just track that he's constantly speaking in a future tense, you kind of feel, you don't even like calculate the balance, you feel the balance, you feel the overload of future tense, and then you can with some self-awareness you can realize that, well, why he's preoccupied, why is his focus is so much in the future. Is he trying to control the outcome he wants to receive? Is he's over controlling of it? Is he in denial of like harsh reality that he can't meet, or in or avoidance of it? Or is he just really goal oriented, right? And then you can just see for yourself what kind of person you talk to. Another thing that he mentions in the book, he says that people could shift back and forth between the tenses while describing the same event. And he said that it usually means that um, those memories still have the emotional charge, and the experience isn't fully uh, kind of um, faded. So the emotional charge is still there. Uh, those can this can show the unresolved feeling. This can show the self-editing. It can show that you're still trying to understand. You're in the process of making sense. In the process of making decision. Um, yeah, and that's how the tenses can also show something to you about yourself. And again, just to highlight the uh, power of these tiny words, I would like to say that the conscious mind controls what we talk about. We still can consciously choose what we say, be controlling of it, but we struggle to be completely in control because uh, we don't think that fast, too. We have a limited time and the answer is already expected from us. And the mathematic part of it are the function words. Um, and if you track this, you can find lots of information. You can find deception. You can find the insecurity. You can find moral tension, uh, either in pronoun shifts, in tense changes, or in the use of negations and modal verbs. There could be patterns of unconscious leakage. Um, but to be aware of it, you need to know that these words have meaning and they have the information to tell you something. But you also need to be aware that uh, their positive or negative attribution is highly attached to the context. So you better kind of to prove what you're guessing there, right? Because, well, the person can be concentrated on he can't have the self focus, but it could be because he really tries to make sense of his experience that he finds struggling, right? His trauma, his uh, problems and troubles. Uh, and not necessarily due to him being selfish. So this information on itself, without any other additional signals, could be not enough for you. But it's definitely not nothing. There's a lot of what this the language could tell you. You can still be attentive of what people say to you. Um, and track whether they sound believable. And this will be all for this video. Thank you for